Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ba'd. So, Nu'man ibn Bashir radiallahu anhuma, he said that the Messenger of Allah said, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يسوي صدورنا. He said that the Messenger of Allah used to straighten our lines for us to make sure that before we start the prayer, the lines were straight. حتى كأنما يسوي بها القداح. The way that he would straighten them, it's as if he would straighten an arrow. So if you think about this, has anyone done archery before? Anyone ever gone for archery? Yes. Imagine if your arrow was crooked, it wasn't straight. Would you hit the target? You're not going to hit the target. So it needs to be as straight as possible, just like an arrow is going to be. حتى رأى أن قد قلنا عنه. So the Messenger of Allah, he explained it, and Nu'man ibn Bashir is saying, it seemed like everyone got the message and they understood. It's like some announcements sometimes. Sometimes we give announcements and we think the people understood. So the Messenger of Allah, he thought the people understood. ثم خرج يوما فقام حتى كاد يكبر فرأى رجلا باديا صدره من الصف. So he says, one day they went up, they were about to start the prayer, and then he saw one guy, his chest was sticking all the way out in the line. The line was not corrected, and it was not done correctly. فقال عباد الله. The Messenger of Allah said, O servants of Allah, لا تسوون صفوفكم أو ليخالفن الله بين وجوهكم. He says, you must straighten your lines, otherwise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause your faces to turn away, your directions to turn away from each other. Meaning that you will not be in the same direction in terms of the unity that Muslims need to have if you're not going to be able to get your lines straight. And this is a very strong statement. This is hadith in Sahih Muslim. Is that we need to, when they say when you want to make change in your life, they say always start small. Right? In fact, there was a book I was reading. There was one guy, he talks about life changes, and he said every time I tried to make a change in my life, I was always failing. One of his changes he wanted to make always, he never flossed his teeth. He said, I wanted to floss because every time I went to the dentist, you got gingivitis, we need deep cleaning, it's going to cost you $500 plus your insurance, this and that. So he said, you know what I did? He said, what I did was, I said, you know what I'm going to do? My problem is, I always have trouble getting started. So I'm going to make a commitment. I'm going to floss one tooth every single day. My minimum is just floss one tooth. So he started doing that. He flossed one tooth, and then the next day he flossed one tooth. He said, this is easy, it's not hard. After you do one, I already did one, might as well do two. Might as well do three. And he kept his standards so low so that he actually eventually built himself up. The same thing comes to things like this. If we can't get our lines straight, we're not going to solve the problems in our ummah. We're not going to be establishing khilafah, right? If we can't straighten the line. So it's very important to pay attention to the small things, because if we can't handle the small things, we can't handle the big things. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to realize this formula and apply it into our lives. Ameen. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.